Ben, that was quite the awesome press release you guys put out January 15th, where you have sold 49.9% of your international portfolio of assets to International Cannabis Corp, valuing the entire European business at US $258 million. What is the compelling reason for selling half of your business to another company?
Selling the half of the business to ICC gets us a broader framework and completes our vertical integration that we've been seeking across all the aspects of the value chain. So we now have an EU GMP compliant pharmaceutical manufacturing facility in Greece, a federal license in Denmark, which we'll be developing to give us certainty of product for the EU outside of Canada. And then it also gives us broad distribution. We signed, as part of the agreement, a 10,000 kg supply agreement to Cosmos and as part of ICC. And now that brings us up to about 39,000 kgs over 3 years with distributors in Europe, where we get a higher margin for the product.
No, interesting. So is the revenue split from the business essentially going to emulate perfectly the ownership split?
Yeah, the revenue split will equal the ownership split, and the profit will be split that way. What we will have is the ability to receive a base cost for our product in Canada that we ship to Europe, and then we'll have a profit share on that with ICC. So it'll look a little better on the Wayland.
Sure. Okay. What are the hurdles that have to be crossed for this deal to close?
We've already done the due diligence in Greece. We're impressed with the facilities and the operations there. And we'll be moving ahead with due diligence in Bulgaria, Denmark, and then in Poland as well. Those are the places that we've yet to see. Our team was in Colombia last week, so there's really little to do left on the diligence side of things.
Okay, and so will it take a shareholder vote to complete the transaction or regulatory approval?
No, it won't. It's not a fundamental change for ICC, hence a minority position, and so there's no shareholder approval required.
Right. Okay, so ICC's issuing 300 million of their own shares to you. How has the effect been on your shareholders? Are they generally very excited about this transaction, I would imagine?
Yeah, our shareholders are excited about the transaction, and they see a lot of value. And by splitting the commercial developments of the business with ICC strictly focused on international medical wellness cannabis, and then the Canadian division focused on production, and then the rec market, it makes a lot of sense to people to have the split naturally that way.
Right. Okay, so then this is a case where you're basically going to have a whole other management team to help you with the rollout of the European sort of development, which comes with its obvious sort of synergies and accretive benefits. Do you see that the relationship with International Cannabis is going to be accretive in other ways to the entire relationship?
Yeah, we're taking our management team in Europe. Morten Brandt will be leading the charge for ICC, and our current GM for Germany, Joseph Spate, will be running operations. And then we pick up some great talent in the extraction and isolate areas within the Polish operation and Serbian operations of ICC. So it's a natural fit for us. And then our Swiss team in cultivation will be able to assist and help the groups in Denmark, Poland, and in the other places where they're working, and bring some of our efficiency. So we really gain rationalization of the business. We can take, instead of purchasing bulk supply of CBD from others and some of the contracts that have been put in place, we can now supply that to ourselves. So instead of purchasing from another group in Serbia, we can provide our own product that we have in Germany already that we had from our harvest last year.
Interesting. Can you elaborate a bit more on the distribution channels that you have access to as a result of this combination?
Yeah, we now have access to over 27,000 pharmacies thanks to Cosmos' existing distribution network. So that gets us into almost every shelf across Western Europe.
Wow, that's fascinating. So those pharmacies are all in areas where cannabis has been licensed for medical use?
They have some distribution in areas that cannabis has not been licensed for medical use. They have distribution over 60,000 pharmacies total. I'm just quantifying the ones that are within the population centers in the countries where we'll be working, which is around 390 million people.
Wow. So it sounds like sales are really going to, or at least the potential for sales to really take off is substantial at this point, and with such a distribution.
Yeah, we'd have to look at purchasing a distributor if we wanted to gain the same type of opportunity. Aphria purchased CC Pharma in a $72 million deal. Other groups have partnered with other groups who are wholesalers, and they've ended up giving up a more significant margin than we would hope to. So we see this as an opportunity to pair assets, pair companies where there's not a lot of overlap, and to join them together and gain significant distribution.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So Ben, tell me about how that affects the North American operations. What's the sort of upside of this transaction for the North American assets?
The upside of the transaction for the North American assets is 10,000 kgs more going to Europe a year at a higher margin than we're able to get from the provinces. And then in addition to that, what we gain is focus and management focus on the recreational market in Canada and then future opportunities in the United States. It's tough to be everything to everyone if we look at the Canadian market, the way it's gone. It's basically a tobacco industry now, or similar to the tobacco industry in Canada. The only similarity it has to alcohol is the sales distribution channel. So when we look at that business being shaped that way, we have a lot of talent on the pharmaceutical side. We've developed talent on the extraction, isolate side, product formulation. And in Canada, we're still at a very early stage in product development, only allowing raw extract, all natural extracts, no isolates. So we can take our existing learning, our ideas, and our learning, take that to Europe, and then really be able to amplify that and use the expertise that we've developed in the organization. So 5 years of learning, transplant that to Europe, take our existing management team in Europe who have existed and worked in the life sciences pharmaceutical sector and move through that process. Canada is somewhat of an anomaly in the recreational legalization of cannabis from a federal standpoint. And in some areas where Canada has developed and moved ahead with recreational legalization, that's been great for people to have that decriminalized in areas, but to be legalized completely in Canada. And the real point of this is legalization in Canada is a dry flower market. It's an all-natural extract market. And so there's not much more opportunity within the regulations now where they are to really be world leaders in that stage unless we have a different platform. So we're taking that platform to Europe to further develop it, and that will be value for all of Wayland shareholders. But we're just moving beyond what is a Health Canada prescribed business model. We can't exist and remain in that type of business model. We have to continue to push forward like we have been and have a rational business with different cost centers all over the world. Wow.
Well, it sounds like you've really evolved this whole international opportunity in your thinking, Ben. It's an intriguing transaction, and it sounds to me like it could be extremely accretive to the bottom line for Wayland Group. So we're going to follow this story very closely, and we look forward to visiting some of your assets here in 2019 with our crew in Europe and in Canada. So wishing you the best of luck, and thanks very much for the update.
Great. We look forward to having you and showing by your great videos all of the assets and what we're doing here.